Does your house belong to you? Or if you are not using it, can someone just come in, squat for a period of time, and then claim that they have a right to be there?
A Venezuelan national dubbed the migrant influencer is at the center of controversy this morning. He has been using TikTok to coach migrants how to live in the U.S. by taking advantage of laws protecting squatters.
Una casa en United States.
In his most recent controversial TikTok video, Moreno is telling his followers to avoid living on the streets in the United States. They can, quote, invade empty homes and live there, saying under U.S. law, if a house is uninhabited, it can be seized, referring to squatting rights in our country. That video garnered almost 4 million views.
This so-called squatter scam is something that's happening around the country. There's even videos telling people how to go in and take over an empty house. That was never how the law was supposed to work. And in Florida, we are going to take action today to end this scam and to protect the private property rights of our homeowners. You should not have anyone go on your property and take it over and then try to assert some rights. It's absurd. We're going to put an end to it today, and we'll be leading the way yet again in the process.
As we have more migrants moving into cities, more homelessness, we are going to see more of it, more squatting.
James Burling is a property rights attorney.
But they're talking about all the advantages that you can get from squatting. It's inevitable that it's going to increase.
In past videos, the illegal migrant bragged that he came to the United States to vacation and now lives off U.S. taxpayers because he had a child in this country. He also tells his followers that he waits for Americans' hard-earned pension checks to come in every month. In another video, he is urging fellow Venezuelans to pay the fines of a 15-year-old migrant who allegedly shot a tourist in Times Square, saying, quote, today it could be him, tomorrow it could be one of you. But this recent video on squatting is making headlines as Moreno tells his comrades that if they fix up an abandoned home that is deteriorated or in bad condition, they can get credits when the properties are sold. While Burling says that is not the case, the misinformation is now out there.
Well, I think publicity, like what we're seeing in TikTok and viral videos of that nature, are going to magnify the idea that squatting is an alternative to not having enough housing.
Well, the migrant influencer who was using TikTok to teach illegal migrants how to take advantage of U.S. squatting laws and go and squat in people's homes and take them over. He is reportedly has been arrested from immigration authorities this morning. TikTok finally suspended his account only after millions viewed his videos.
Leonel Moreno, who is a Venezuelan national, crossed the southern border into Eagle Pass, Texas in April 2022. From there, he was enrolled on what is known as the Alternatives to Detention program, which allows federal authorities to track migrants who enter the country illegally once they are released into the United States interior. Migrants who are enrolled in the program, like Moreno, are required to report to federal immigration authorities on their whereabouts in the United States while enrolled in the program. However, Moreno did not do that and was listed as an absconder from the program. Moreno regularly shares on social media how he scams the system to receive money from the federal government, food stamps, and shows his social security card in posts that we've reviewed. He claims that his wife and daughter receive $350 a month from the federal government, often flaunts the food and aid that they receive through the funding from these federal programs. Moreno originally told federal authorities that his intended address in the United States was the Catholic Charities office in Miami. He has since been seen in posts in Columbus, Ohio. When Moreno failed to report to immigration authorities as part of the Alternatives to Detention tracking program, ICE in Miami did mail him his court date. In one social media post, Moreno said that he has been in the U.S. for over a year and has not had to work one day. He said, quote, I've concluded that the American dream is real. This is food of the best quality that they just give you. In a separate post, Moreno said, quote, work is for slaves, boys. Remember that work is for slaves. Where have you seen a millionaire work? Don't humiliate yourself. You have to be creative to ask for money, he said.
But first, I've got to ask you your thoughts on the squatter situation, because we just saw Governor Ron DeSantis make it unlawful for anybody to go into a person's home in Florida and say that it's their home and take over that home. He made it unlawful. Why can't we do that in America? People are worried about strangers going into their homes if they're not there and taking them over. As an elected official, can you do anything about this?
This is something that is going to have to be done at the local and state level. But Maria, you're exactly right. People are quite concerned about leaving their home, going on vacation, and fearing that they're going to come back and have squatters who have moved into their home, their yard, their garages, their barns. We hear about it, and you know, this is not unlike that situation that you see there on the southern border, because ranchers and farmers, many that you have talked to, I have also, who say they wake up and there are those that are illegally in the country, in their kitchens, in their barns, on their farm equipment, and it is very difficult to secure their private property.
Well, I mean, good for Ron DeSantis for making it unlawful. We're going to keep watching this story because this is absolutely outrageous. And the person who was putting the videos on TikTok, he was trying to talk to the migrants who were coming in through the open border.
Heck, even the illegal aliens are going on social media and talking about squatting and urging other foreign nationals to come to this country illegally and commandeer property. If we don't have private property rights, we will not have a free society. So it is the bedrock. Florida stands by that. We're proud to do it.
All right, so the issue of squatting now has been on the rise all across the country. That's where people take over vacant homes, they rent a property and never leave. Can you imagine? You own a property, you can't get rid of somebody that's in your house. Oftentimes, it could take the property owners months or even years to get the squatters thrown out. Well, now the state of Florida is taking action. Governor Ron DeSantis just signed legislation that gives police the right to remove squatters as soon as they are found, and makes it a felony to do more than $1,000 worth of damage to a home while squatting. Take a look at this.
Well, today in the state of Florida, we say very simply, what passes muster in New York and California is not passing muster here. You are not going to be able to commandeer somebody's private property and expect to get away with it. We are in the state of Florida ending the squatter scam once and for all.
And it is a scam. I know somebody in New York, 4.5 years, a squatter stayed in somebody else's house. Now, the governor of Florida also recently signed a bill banning any children in the state under the age of 14 from having a social media account, after years of research has now revealed the serious dangers that these online platforms are posing to our kids. Anyway, joining us now, Florida Governor Ron DeSantis. Governor, great to have you. You know, I doubt when you got into politics that you ever imagined a day where you'd be hearing story after story after story of, people just commandeering other people's homes and then the courts protecting them. I know a case in New York. It went on 4.5 years before they were finally legally allowed to take back their home. Is this America?
Well,
this doesn't sound like the America I know. What?
No, Sean. And I mean, you think about things like, this idea of squatting when Americans were settling like the Old West. You'd go, you didn't know who owned it. There weren't records. So if people started a community there, then someone came 6 or 7 years later and claimed it was theirs. Well, that was different. It's an adverse possession. It was never intended that you could just go into some subdivision and break into a house and start living there, and then all of a sudden have all these rights vested. In New York, there was a case, and it was reported, where the homeowner went when someone had taken over her house, and the police did not evict the squatters. The police ended up arresting the homeowner. What kind of a country is that? And so, like on so many issues, what New York does, what California does, Florida will do the opposite. And so the squatter scam ends today with our legislation. And it's important because, Sean, now being a Florida resident, we've got people that will be here for 7 months of the year. and then they'll go to Michigan or New York or even Canada. So what? You come back after the summer and someone's in your house and then they just get to stay there for 6 months. Now in Florida, you call up, you fill out a form, sheriff comes, and the sheriff kicks them out of your property.
Yeah. And by the way, and I've owned property in Florida for over 20 years. Now I am a domiciled resident, permanent resident of Florida. I have my Florida license to prove it if you want to see it, and every other legal thing that I had to do. But it's even worse than that. People can start out, maybe they'll pay the first month's rent, then they'll never pay again. And if you try to kick them out, you're right. The home that you were describing was a case that was over $1 million, that property, and they arrested the homeowner. And I'm thinking to myself, what country is this that they arrest the homeowner and the squatter gets to stay in that person's house? You can't make that up.
Well, and it's like the private property rights, that's the bedrock of a free society and a constitutional republic. And what I think the left is doing, what some of these activists are doing, heck, even the illegal aliens are going on social media and talking about squatting and urging other foreign nationals to come to this country illegally and commandeer property. If we don't have private property rights, we will not have a free society. So it is the bedrock. Florida stands by that. We're proud to do it. And Sean, it's like yet another reason why people are going to choose to flee from the New Yorks and the California and end up coming down here to the Sunshine State.
Let me tell you, you have baby boomers that have yet to retire, people that have just gotten fed up with the crime, the high taxes, the way of life. They're going to be leaving in droves for the next 2 decades. I don't think this migration is ending anytime soon.
Georgia lawmakers have a new message for property squatters. The law is no longer on your side. Waiting for the governor's signature is the Georgia Squatter Reform Act. It's passed both the state's House and Senate.
Squatters who live in other people's homes without permission, rent-free, and refusing to leave. But when kicking them out, the law has been on their side. The real homeowners call police, but are too often told they have to take them to court. Well, this week, a new law waiting for the governor's signature sides now with property owners. So someone like Machete Man, who we introduced you to, wouldn't be allowed to stay and scare neighbors for months on end.
Atlanta police made several stops to this Kirkwood, Atlanta property in the summer of 2021 about a machete-wielding squatter scaring the community. Kelsey Womack owns the business next door.
He was threatening to hurt my clients if they parked in front of the house that he didn't rightfully own. It's caused me nothing but stress. It's caused us to lose money. It's caused us to lose business.
Neighbors and business owners had no luck with police. Out-of-state ownership told us that Brandon Barkley had no right to be there. But they told the Fox 5i team Atlanta police said they'd have to take him to court. The man living here eventually just moved on.
In my opinion, squatters are criminals. They're trespassing on someone's private property. And, right now they're being treated like they're tenants of that property.
Representative Devin Seaball sponsored, with others, the Georgia Squatter Reform Act. It passed unanimously this week in the Georgia legislature. He says if the squatters show a lease, real or not, the case gets gummed up in Superior Court.
And the process to remove them is long and arduous and could take, it's taken 8 months up to 2 years.
His bill speeds up the process.
What we've done in this bill is we've changed the jurisdiction to magistrate court, a non-jury trial, to expedite that. If they present a lease, they have 3 days to present that lease to the court. The court has 7 days to make a determination if that's a good lease or a fake lease.
Last fall, the Fox 5i team got a call from Ronan McCabe, a frustrated Tucker homeowner who discovered people living in his home that was empty and for sale. He called the police several times asking for help.
They broke into my house and moved in. They have no contract, no agreement with me. Gwinnett County Police are saying that there's nothing that they can do.
But then something did happen. Ramon Fuertes III was arrested. Not for squatting, Coincidentally, federal marshals were tailing him. Fuertes was arrested on an outstanding warrant related to child sex trafficking. If that hadn't have happened, he and his friends might still be living in this neighborhood. At the time, Representative Kim Schofield called the laws on the books outdated.
Why are we empowering scammers and squatters to milk this system? Come on, Georgia. We've got to do better than this.
Well, the power is shifting. The new bill awaits the governor's signature, and there's new hope that homeowners can, again, control their own property.
No, I don't think we're finished. I think we'll continue to look at the laws.
Again, the bill still needs the governor's signature. Representative Seaball hasn't heard anything yet, but expects that it will be done.
Let me ask you about social media and kids and 14-year-olds, and because there is a lot of danger. There are predators out there that are targeting our children online. You were very successful with this legislation. I think it's been misconstrued by some in the media. Not a big shock to you, but your reaction.
Yeah, so basically, look, I'm a dad, Sean. I've got a first grader, a kindergartner, a preschooler. So my wife and I are thinking as they get older, what is this landscape going to even look like? And the reality is it's hard for parents to keep up with everything that's out there. And so what our legislation says is for 14 and 15-year-olds, social media companies cannot issue them their own social media account unless the parent consents. So then this way the parent can kind of know the dangers and then make that decision. 13 and under, social media companies cannot issue an account. And here's the thing. Under 13 is already prohibited under federal law. It's just not enforced. So you do have 8-year-olds and 10-year-olds who have these. What we've said is we're not really regulating the use. I mean, if a 12-year-old has something, it's not really about that. It's about holding the social media companies accountable. If a parent wants to have a social media account and let their 11-year-old use it, they are free to do it under there. So I think it strikes the right balance to try to help parents navigate this really perilous landscape. And you're right. The predators, you used to have to worry about the predator if, the kid's out in the neighborhood and someone would come by in like a van. Now the predator can come right into your house. The kid can be there. Your kid can be, just safe as can be. And then through that internet and through those social media apps. So I think we struck a good balance here. And here's the thing, Sean, we're not talking about the content. We're talking about apps and social media networks that have addictive qualities. So if they don't have the addictive qualities, then the bill doesn't even apply in that situation.
I know a group of parents that actually have all come to an agreement, no cell phones for their kids until 8th grade. I actually thought it was a great decision. And many of the parents, what they have decided to do, I haven't had a landline in years. I don't know about you, Governor, but I don't even know what one looks like anymore. And they've just decided if they allow any phone use, it's going to be a landline in their house that they can hear the conversation now. I thought a pretty creative idea.
So it's interesting, Sean. So last year, we did a bill that I signed that said school districts could say no cell phones during class time. There was a huge uproar about that. People were saying that somehow this was, too restrictive. And yet what's happened this school year, the kids are learning better. Everyone's happier because the attention is on what's happening in the classroom. I'd also say, just as a parent, my wife and I have talked about this. Our kids are too young to have any phones. We've decided that when they do get a phone, probably not going to be a smartphone. It's going to be one of those old flip phones that we used to have where they can make a call if they need anything from us, but we don't have to worry about all the hundreds of different apps. And here's the thing, Sean, too. Apart from all the really significant harms with the predators, it's not healthy to have kids buried in their phones 8 hours a day.